assim. É.
Sou eu.
Can you all remain standing for a moment of silent prayer and meditation? Thank you. We may all be seated. Good morning, colleagues. Let me take this opportunity to welcome members of the executive, members of the Provincial Legislature, the Chief Whip, leaders of political parties, ladies and gentlemen, including our guests. Thank you very much for honoring this meeting. Let me indicate to our guests that we really value your interest in the matters of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, because this is the parliament of the people of Gauteng, your parliament, not our parliament. And for us, it is important if you follow through and you understand how we conduct ourselves, what we do, what decisions have been taken on your behalf. We really value your participation. However, I wish to indicate that guests are not allowed to participate in the proceedings of the House, including the clapping of hands, making noise, not talking while we are busy, including taking photos. That is not allowed. Should that happen and it is brought to our attention, we'll use the rule. We'll request the police to take you out of the precinct, as that is not acceptable. And I hope you are going to bear with us, because we're elected by yourself, for us to be able to conduct ourselves in a proper manner. I hope you will understand that. At a later stage, the chairperson of committees will have a session with yourselves in order for her to explain what is happening here. If there's a need for one chairperson to come and brief you, that will also happen, but will be guided by the chair of committees. Thank you very much. We have few apologies that we have received. Honorable Lidwaba, who is held in the traffic from Tshwane. I'm sure we all know that in Tshwane there's a problem with the buses. She left home as early as 6 this morning and she is unable to come. Honorable Litswalo will join the meeting late. She started at his child's school. Honorable Koma for party business. Honorable Mulapo, and who's also attending. Okay, it's not clear why she's not here. Oh no, it's party business. And Honorable Lorima, who is not well. The Premier, who will join us by 11, has had an urgent engagement to attend to. Those are the only apologies that have been received by the office. Honorable Ralihuku is also going to join the meeting later. Okay, thank you. If those are the only apologies, thank you very much. It's written, I have it in writing. Thank you very much. Are there any announcements from members? Colleagues, I want to remind you that today is the deadline for the submission of declaration forms, which must be submitted by close of business today in the office of the Integrity Commissioner. Please make it a point that you submit, and you don't miss the deadline. Thank you very much. If there are no announcements, in terms of Rule 79, subsection 1, we'll request Honorable Ramokgopa to make a member of the Executive Council's statement.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, the Premier in absentia, fellow members of the Executive, members of the Legislature, and our guests in the gallery. Let me first start by congratulating the team that won the game that was determining the second best team in the county. Yes, we congratulate Orlando Pirates for being the second best team in the country after Mamelodi Sundowns. Madam Speaker, the province recently experienced an outbreak of African swine flu, which predominantly affected communal pigs owners in 2 Ekurhuleni townships of Davidton and Alra Park. African swine flu is a controlled disease under the Animal Disease Act 35 of 1984. The legislated control measures for an outbreak of ASF outside the ASF control area of Limpopo and Mpumalanga provinces is the culling of any sick or contact pig in an infected site. Gauteng province had hitherto been free from ASF since the last outbreak of 2012. The total number of pigs culled was 554. Although the last cases in the current outbreak were diagnosed during the last week of June 2019, and the outbreak appears to be getting worse, to be getting under control, the department remains on high alert in order to respond to any new outbreaks. The department would like to acknowledge pig farmers, both small-scale and commercial, for their cooperation with compliance to the movement control protocols prohibiting live pig sales at livestock auctions. This measure largely contributed to the curtailing of the spread of the disease to new informal pig keepers in the township, as well as both emerging and commercial pig producers. The department further acknowledges the South African Pig Producers Organization, SAPO, for their role in making financial assistance available to incentivize affected pig owners to hand over their pigs to the Gauteng government to enable the removal of the ASF virus from Gauteng. Gauteng government would also like to reassure the public that ASF virus is different from the swine influenza virus, which was recently diagnosed as responsible for one human death in KZN. We want to give the assurance that we'll continue to be on the lookout and ensure that we undermine any spread of ASF across the province. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable MEC. We're now going to deal with member statement in terms of Rule 81, subsection 1. I wish to read Rule 81, but subsection 5, which says, a copy of the statement must be sent to the Speaker at least 2 hours before the sitting. I will only honor members that have sent their statement 2 hours or more before the sitting. So if a member is going to raise his or her own hand now without having followed the procedure, I am not going to allow those members. Thank you. Honorable Shabalala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The people of Everton deserve a clear and honest answer from the MEC of Human Settlement, Lebogang Maile, as to where the money of Everton Renewal Project went to. It cannot be, as the MEC is quoted on Sunday newspapers, as saying neither he or his department know how much money has been spent on the project. 3 Human Settlement MEC in the past 5 years have given contradicting figures as to how much has been spent on the project. It is an indictment on the ANC that they have allowed millions, if not billions of rands to go unaccounted for when the people of Everton continue to live in the most inhumane conditions. Everton is one of the oldest townships in Gauteng. Its streets are eroded, its houses are depleted, and service delivery is poor. This administration needs to have an honest conversation with itself so that it can accept its failures and come clean about what is evidently one of the greatest swindles of public funds in Gauteng. Everton, along with other failed renewal projects, has been simply a cash cow for cadres and connected cronies. The people in this forgotten township deserve better. They deserve a government that will put their needs first. Last month, we wrote to MEC, I don't know Maile, requesting a forensic investigation into the renewal project. We are still waiting for formal response from the MEC. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable,
For now.
no. Honorable member, can you please sit down? Please. The next person.
Ma'am,
No.
it's 775.
No, it's not allowed in this rule. Please, Honorable Nkosi, it's not
I
allowed.
thought there's only one chair.
Can you switch off the mic? Honorable Nsiche.
Azohlala basinde.
Honorable Nsiche. Honorable Nsiche, do you want to? But I've been calling you.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Finally, the truth is out. The structure of Kempton Hospital is sound. This hospital just needs to be repaired and reopened without delay. MEC Masuku, at the recent public meeting which you held at the hospital, and I was there, you seemed unsure about whether you should renovate or demolish this structure. The answer is clear. Renovate this hospital and open it. The investigation into the structural integrity of the hospital was completed in 2015 and reveals that this hospital is sound and there are no structural problems that were found. It was recommended that the hospital be refurnished and opened as a district hospital. It was revealed to me by a response by MEC Mutara in a written reply. It also shows that this hospital was built in 1978 with a maintenance that was expected to have a lifespan of 100 years. In a previous reply, the department indicated that they had spent 6.9 million on securing security guards to safeguard this unused and abandoned hospital. Furthermore, the Department of Health indicated that they would demolish the hospital for 127 million rand. It's unfair that Tembisa Hospital and Kempton residents should be subjected to an overcrowding and pressures at Tembisa Hospital, while Kempton Hospital is standing unused nearby. I would like to make the recommendation, MEC. You now have your answer because you're not sure what to do. Let me give you guidance. Refurbish, open Kempton Hospital so people of Tembisa and Kempton Park can have another hospital that they can use. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
That concludes member statements that were sent to us. We are now going to deal with questions. What's wrong?
Can we be
Is there
taken
anything wrong,
serious?
Honorable Makubela? If there's something wrong, please share with us. Questions for oral reply in terms of Rule 134, starting with Honorable Bloom to MEC for Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the MEC for Health. With regard to accruals for unpaid companies, will the MEC please indicate, 1, what is the total amount of accruals owing in rands and cents as of 1 July 2019? 2, how many companies are owed for more than 6 months? 3, how many companies are owed for more than 12 months? 4, when is it expected these accruals will be completely paid up? And 5, how much is still owing in total to the National Health Laboratory Service?
Honorable MEC.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable members, it's important that we start by giving context to everything that has been said. That since 2018-2019 financial year, the department had actually started a process of reducing accruals, and it started a process of managing the accruals by also starting with plans for paying, what we call payment plans. And we started with accruals that were verified because we need to start the process of verifying all the invoices. In KZN, in recent months, the process of verifying invoices has actually reduced that the accruals that were actually owed by the KZN Department of Health actually dropped by 40%. So part of our plan to reduce accruals is also to verify the invoices and also get portfolio of evidence of work done and goods delivered. The plan started off by making sure that all those who are owed below 10 million are supposed to be paid. And that actually happened with the engagement of all the service providers. And all those who had been owed 10 million were settled up to 24 months. Those who were owed more than 10 million, where plans were made to settle them in a maximum of 24 months. The payment plans have been honored up to now, and it's something that we are continuing to honor and make sure that we pay them as planned. The trend of the last 3 years of the accruals, in 2016-2017, the accruals were over 6.975 billion. In 2017-2018, the accruals were 6.79 billion. And now, which is an unaudited figure, we are almost down to 4.8 billion. And we're hoping with the audited figure, the accruals would have been down around 4.8 billion. And this is important to mention that the process of paying the suppliers has been very done strictly, and we've been able to maintain it. Coming to the questions as given. Question 1, on the total amount of accruals owing in rands and cents on the 1st of July 2019, it's 2.8 billion. And this amount excludes the central depot, and also because the audited statements have not been done. So as we speak now, on the 1st of July, there are 2.8 billion, the accruals owed. And how many companies are we owing for the last 6 months is 2,093. How many companies are owed for more than 12 months are 505. When is expected of these accruals to be completely paid up? As we have committed to the payment plans to the service providers, we are hoping that in the next 2 years, we'll be able to settle all the accruals that we have. How much is still owing in total of the National Health Laboratory? It's 1.2 billion. This amount is also subjected to a payment plan, and as we speak now, we've already made 2 of the 3 installments as promised to settle the debt. Thank you.
Any supplementary question, Honorable Bloom?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. These are astronomical numbers. So it was close to 7 billion. Then we get a figure of 4.8 billion. Now we're told 2.8 billion. But just look at the number of companies. The number of companies owed for more than 12 months, 505 companies out there, and they're supposed to be settled in 2 years. I think there are job losses because of this. And I know that some companies don't want to deal with the Gauteng Health Department because they don't get paid. And the number of companies owed for more than 6 months, 2,093. I mean, that's enormous. So I feel sorry for the Honourable MEC. He walked into this. But really, the accruals have to come down. It's a big drain on our current budget. It's going to be a drain on our next year's budget. I only hope that there's some way we could actually get it down quicker. Thank you.
It's an accrual, Will.
Honorable Mashuko?
Under 134, subsection 7, I'd like to find out from the MEC how far back the accruals date, because we do understand that they are not necessarily related to this financial year alone. And then also lastly, why in the Health Department's report that we went through in the committee, they only indicated accruals of around 600 million plus, of course, I don't remember the exact figure, and yet the MEC gives us the real figure now.
Honorable MEC?
Honorable Speaker, I'm not sure what Honorable Mashiko is talking about the 600 million. We have been consistent in reporting that. Maybe we'll just have to check with our records, but we have been on record saying that it's an audited figure, which was around 4.8, and that's what we have said. And it's something that we have to verify, but I'm not sure what she's talking about. The accruals date back from 2009 and 10 financial year, and we are in the process of dealing with them. As we said, that the payment plans, we are strict on them. Since this new CFO has taken up the position, we've been able to reduce and also get discounts from the service providers. We are also very worried, Honorable Bloom, about job losses that have occurred and a number of businesses that have suffered out of this process. But we are hoping that as part of our turning the corner, we are getting there, with our service providers. And part of the problem that has been there is that there are a number of invoices that have not been verified. And part of this process of the payment plans is to verify invoices correctly and also have proof of service rendered and also goods delivered. And we are hoping that we'll be able to do with that. Thank you.
Next question, Honorable Bloom to MEC for Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to the MEC for Health. With regard to surgery at the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, will the MEC please indicate, 1, how many patients are waiting for surgery for longer than 6 months as at 1 July this year? 2, how many patients were on the waiting list for cataract surgery as of 1 July this year? And 3, approximately how long will the patients in 2 above have to wait for their surgery? 4, how many patients were waiting for hip and knee surgery as at 1 July this year? And 5, approximately how long will the patients in 4 above have to wait for their surgery?
Honorable, let me see.
Thank you. I think also it's important that we start to give a proper context of the questions that have arisen, particularly in terms of waiting time, and also affirm that as the 6th administration, waiting time is something that we have committed in dealing with. And I've said repeatedly in public and in this House that waiting time, it's not only waiting time for a patient to see a practitioner, a doctor or a nurse, but it also waiting time that results from waiting for surgery, waiting for treatment like chemotherapy, waiting for operations, and also waiting for just ordinary medication in the pharmacy. I also have to build a context that in terms of the number of patients that we see and the population that we have in Gauteng, our institutions and infrastructure is unable to carry and give efficiently the operations in time. And Chris Baragwanath is one of those institutions that cater for a number of patients, and we also have a problem of availability of theatre time. So according to the HOD of orthopedic surgery, particularly at Bara, there are a number of reasons why there's a long waiting time. One of them is the unavailability of theatre, but the other one is inefficient use of our theatre time. The thirdly is the issue of availability of staff, because we have a shortage of staff in terms of our scrub nurses and theatre nurses, and there's a high number of absenteeism due to sickness and medical problems for our staff. Hence, our waiting time is high, and it's something that we've looked at in terms of our benchmark to try and reduce the waiting time. Coming to the questions about how many patients, the first question, how many patients were waiting for surgery for longer than 6 months as the 1st of July this year? It's approximately 6,083 patients waiting for operations longer for 6 months. How many patients were on the waiting list for cataract surgery of the 1st of July this year? Out of the 6,083 patients, approximately 3,308 patients are waiting for cataract surgery. Approximately how long will the patient above have to wait for their surgery? The waiting list for cataract surgery is approximately 12 months. How many patients were waiting for hip and knee surgery as the 1st of July this year? Out of the 6,083 patients, approximately 828 patients for hip, 1,141 patients waiting for knee replacement. Approximately how long will the patients above have to wait for their surgery? The waiting time for hip and knee replacement is approximately 5 years if we don't do anything about it. But we have already started a process of engaging our private sector in terms of availability of their theatre time, in terms of availability of the resource that they have in the private sector to try and reduce the operations that relate to arthroplasty. And one of the things that we also wanting to do is to improve the efficiencies in our theatre, and also to employ more staff, particularly in terms of the theatres. So we are hoping that this is one of the markers that we'll keep an eye on, and will keep the House every time informed about what we are doing and where are we in terms of the waiting times, because we are not only dealing with the waiting times in terms of queues, but one of them, this is one of them. This is one of the waiting times that we are looking at. But it should be noted that some of the, like your cataracts surgery and the underlying factors that causes cataracts are some of the causes that are preventable and that we need to talk to as the House and as leaders of the society. Issues that relates to diabetes, issues that relates to hypertension, these are problems that are preventable only if we live a healthy lifestyle. Yes, also the issues that relates to the hip replacement and knee replacement, most of it is related to obesity, which is a particular problem that we have, where the issues of hip and the strain that the hips and the knees have. But this is a population that we need to take care of and make sure that we're able to replace those knees and replace those hips and get the citizens back into shape and back into economic activity. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary question, Honourable Bloom?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honourable MEC because, in fact, in the past, getting information like this was like pulling teeth from previous health MECs, and I don't think we must hide from the reality, and the reality is stark. 5 years to wait for a hip and knee replacement. That's 2,000 patients in total are going to wait 5 years. They're going to go to Barra. They probably have to wait to see the specialist. They're going to be given a date in 2024. Can you just imagine that? Please come back in 2024, and hopefully the theatre's working at that stage. But I really do feel more and more sorry for the Honourable MEC, but I think we've got to confront the facts. More than 6,000 people waiting for surgery. This is just one hospital alone. So thank you, Honourable MEC, for giving us the real figures and committing to bringing them down and updating it. I actually think it should be a performance indicator. It's actually not one of the performance indicators in the annual report, and it should be. They should put waiting times for various operations at the various hospitals. Thank you.
Any comments, Honourable MEC?
Thanks. I think ours is not to mask the reality. As I've said, ours is not to mask the reality. If we have to deal accurately and precisely with problems of health, we need to be able to give informed information and also follow it up. And I gladly appreciate that if the Premier or the House itself can be able to monitor the waiting times and see if we are doing progress. But I'm confident that we'll be able to deal with this, and our surgeons are ready. They are doing a lot of work. We also had some cataract operations that were done by the Muslim Association, Medical Association, who are doing cataract surgery for free. They did one in Gauteng, and they did 100 only on the Mandela Day. So it's something that we are hoping that we continuously do when we do the camps to catch up with this type of problem. Thank you.
Next question, Honourable Khatebe to MEC for Community Safety.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The community of Katlehong raised serious concerns with the way the Ramukunupi police station operates. Serious among these concerns is the way cases opened at the police station are being handled, which leave majority of complainants frustrated.
Sorry, Honourable Khatebe. Members, I want to bring Rule 85, subsection 4 to your attention. Members during debate are not allowed to have conversation among themselves because we're disturbing a person that is speaking. Honourable Moriarty, I hope you'll bear with me. Continue, Honourable.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Serious among these concerns is the way cases opened at the police station are being handled, which leave majority of the complainants frustrated and believing that the criminal justice system is failing them. They believe there is a deliberate buckling of cases by the officers at this station. There are also complaints from street vendors regarding police officers from the very same police station. With that in mind, Can the MEC please respond to the following questions? Is the MEC aware that there are complainants that dockets go missing before even making it to the courts? 2, what mechanisms are there in place to track and trace progress in the investigation of cases? If yes, 2. 3, what steps had the department taken to hold those responsible accountable? 4, if no 2, what commitment can you provide to communities, not only Katlehong, but to the entire province, that such behavior will not be tolerated? And has the department ever been made aware of corruption involving police officers from Ramkunupi Police Station who collect protection fee from street vendors, Katlehong and Thokoza area? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. In response to question 1 from Honourable Member, the response that I received from the police indicated that there are no dockets that are missing, but I then instituted a separate investigation. And now, this is my response now. Now, the department is doing an inspection of case register for the last 2 months to determine if all case dockets are available. And the inspection will extend to reviewing the quality of the investigation on open dockets. And this inspection will also allow us to establish specific cases as are referred by the member above. We will interact and encourage street vendors who formally reported cases of ill treatment from the station to also come and assist us with their case numbers, and definitely so will update the legislature within 7 days. On the second question, on mechanism, where cases have been identified, Honourable Madam Speaker, the department is tracking through the criminal justice system to ensure the investigation officer implements instructions as directed by the prosecutor, and that docket inspection by the branch commander happens, and that the investigating officer regularly communicates with the complainant. On the docket that are deemed trial ready, the department will attend court proceedings throughout the case, and the department will also audit all the closed cases to establish reasons for closing these investigations. This will assist in making recommendations based on the quality of investigations by the detectives. On the third question, the inspector, as we have referred above in the question that I answered previously, Madam Chair, will establish proper facts and specific cases that have been referred to, and should proof be found of any docket missing, sloppy investigation, or receipt of complaints from street vendors, appropriate disciplinary action will be recommended to police management. And the department will, on ongoing cases, also investigate any complaints alleging inappropriate police treatment towards street vendors. On question number 4, the department, through its oversight process, will act upon any allegations of improper behavior by members of the law enforcement agencies and make appropriate recommendations to the police management. On question number 5, the department has not received any complaints in this regard, and the department will interact through the Community Policing Forum of Katlehong to encourage members of the public to report any acts of corruption so that then they are investigated. We further request honourable members of the legislature to assist in curbing crime by reporting to us or to the police directly any specific criminal act for the department to be able to act. Sanctuary street allowance, Madam Speaker. There's always, it takes 2 to 10.
Do you have a supplementary? You're fine. Okay, thank you. The next question, Honourable Mufama to MEC for Social Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A team representing the community of Orange Farm approached the EFF with grievances regarding poor service at SASSA office in the area. They identified shortage of staff, small working environment which is supposed to serve more than 300 people a day, and faulty electrical wires, payment and management of social security grant is the competency of SASSA and the National Department of Social Development. But issues of service delivery affect sphere of government across the board. With the above in mind, can MC please respond to the following questions? Why does the department since 2005 fail to lobby SASSA and the National Department of Social Development to provide the community of Orange Farm with a proper facility which is human friendly? Why should, number two, why should social grant reception and other clients of the share abolition facilities such as toilet irrespective of gender and the Orange Farm SASSA office? Number three, when the last did the department conduct oversight visit to Orange Farm offices to inspect the condition under which poor black people are being serviced? Number four, why does the department allow SASSA to service people office with faulty electrical wires and leaking water pipes, which are a grave danger to the lives of people? And number five, what commitment can the department give to the people of Orange Farm as a remedy to the situation?
Let me see.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. On question one, as an MEC of Gauteng Department of Social Development, I do not have an oversight responsibility over SASSA. However, since this important matter raised by the Honorable
MEC?
Member affects...
Can you hold? I want to read to the MEC who have just joined the meeting. Rule 85, subsection 4. You may not have conversation among yourselves. Please, can you not be disturbed? Honorable MEC, respond.
Thank you very much, Speaker. As I continue, however, since this important matter raised by the Honorable Member affects the citizens of Gauteng, I have already sent a team to inspect the condition of the facility. I will refer the matter and our findings to the National Minister of the Department of Social Development, Ms. Lindiwe Zulu, so that a permanent solution can be attained. The response to question 2, 3, 4, and 5 falls off. Thank you very much.
Honorable Farmer, do you have any supplementary question? You're fine. Okay, thank you. Next question, Honorable Masimula to MEC for Economic Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With regard to Western Agri Park, situated in Ward 1, Badiri location, in the Rand West municipality, which has been there since 2016, can the MEC respond to the following questions? Number one, is the MEC aware that there is this project in the West Rand which was supposed to create thousands of jobs to the community of Rand West? Number two, what was the department's target for the opening of the Agri Park? Number three, how much was budgeted and already spent for the West Rand Agri Park, which had been lying there incomplete since 2016? And number four, what plans are there to ensure the completion of the project and holding those who delayed progress accountable? Thank you very much.
MEC.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thanks to Honorable Masemola for the questions. As it relates to the first one about my knowledge of the existence of the project, yes, I am aware of the project. This project was not an initiative of the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, but that of the former Department of Rural Development and Land Reform. The Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development will, however, initiate an engagement with the National Department with a view to ensuring the project is put back on track. In relation to the second question around the the targets on employment and related issues. As indicated above, the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development is not the project owner, and as such, is not responsible for determining the project timelines, including the opening date. Relating to the third question with regards to the money that has been budgeted or set aside and what has already been spent in this regard since the inception of the Agri-Park. Well, the answer is that, as I've indicated, we are not the owners of the project, but according to the owner, the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, 3.5 million rands has been spent to date to erect fencing and borehole. The overall project is estimated to cost approximately 200 million. The Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, that is national, has indicated that in collaboration with the West Rand Development Agency, Gauteng Infrastructure Financing Agency has been approached to mobilize private funding for the project. And the last question with regards to the plans going forward and how we intend to complete this. Well, I've indicated that we are not the project owner and therefore I'm not able to answer with any degree of authority. But the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development will initiate a process of engagement with the National Department with a view to ensuring the project is put back on track. It, however, remains within the domain of authority of the National Department to institute the necessary consequence management for those responsible for the delays on the project. Thank you very much.
Any supplementary question? Okay, there's no supplementary question from the member? Fine, okay. Let me allow Honorable Celia, noted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in terms of 134.7 just to make a supplementary remark. MEC, I think we need to really start collaborating with the other departments and not just look at the things that are strictly within our own control. The West Rand Development Agency is completely dysfunctional. I don't think you're going to get any help from them in terms of getting this park back on track. But also the other agri-park that is in Western area at the moment, the one with the famous hydroclimoponics tunnel, has been standing empty for about a year now. So really we should expand our view to all the agri-parks in Gauteng and maybe have another look at what to do with them. I don't believe that as government we are the best placed people to get those agri-parks up and running and to keep them running and to keep them making money. I think we should really try and look at some kind of a private-public partnership to deal with, to get commercial agriculture involved in the running of these agri-parks. Thank you.
Honorable Mashiko.
Rule 134, subsection 7. I appreciate that the ABC demonstrates at least some form of familiarity, and I want to commend him for that with the project because it falls within his scope in terms of his area of focus in the province. But just to urge him to do a little bit more because we have a department called COCTA in the province and nationally. And it's not just a department for the sake of being a department. It's a function. Its purpose is to encourage the 3 spheres of government and state-owned entities for that matter to work together in a seamless way so that ultimately the services and the products that are supposed to be delivered are delivered. It's not acceptable. Even the other MEC said the same thing, that she can't answer because it's a national thing, but it falls within her scope. And COCTA and the spirit of what COCTA was formed for is precisely not to disempower MMCs and MECs, etc. So please, can the MEC just do a little bit more to give us an update, and I'll urge our member to resend the question again in a month or 2 just to check what progress, and also to call a community meeting in that area to give them the feedback if the minister is not doing what he or she should be doing.
Honorable MEC.
Let me start with the last remark, just to confirm that I've had extensive engagement with MEC Maile in both capacities as the predecessor and currently someone who's championing COCTA in the province. And really the nature of the conversation was twofold. One, to familiarize myself with some of the issues there as part of the handover report, but also to have a much more substantive conversation around how we collaborate with local government, especially now that they are in a state of paralysis. You'll know that there are instances where we have given money to some of these municipalities and the money is just dissolved, when in fact we are the ones who have sponsored the project. So it's something that requires attention. Yes, go ahead. Oh, you don't have a comprehension of English. Dissolves means disappear. But I know that Afrikaans is your first language. But I think, so it's another way of saying that it can't be accounted for, so it dissolves. So just the comprehension of the, and then the second one is, I accept the critique of the member. So one of the things that we have come to accept as a department, and I think we want to urge provincial government, is that the state does not have the capacity to resolve many of the social conflict in the country and in the province, if I were to domesticate the problem. So what is required is that compact, the relationship, a conversation with private sector, so that where there are points of intersections in terms of our own interests, we are able to collaborate. And in this regard, we have set up a meeting with Agri-SA to have those conversations on how we can revitalize some of these assets. I mean, these are sunk costs. There's money, the other day I was just doing a computation, significant amount of money running into tens of millions that have been invested in these assets. And we are not sweating them. And obviously, there's downstream downsides that we are unable to create the levels of employment and impact that is envisaged. So I take the critique and will not sit back and say it's in the domain of national government. I mean, in the last question, I make the point that we are beginning to initiate this conversation and will be the protagonists in those conversations. Because I think the people of Gauteng have done a great deal of disservice and the state can't fold its arms. The state is not neutral, it will participate in those spaces so that we are able to advance the desire to make our people, the desire of our people to be happy gets to be realized. Thank you very much.
Next question, Honorable Mukwebo, to MEC for Economic Development.
Thanks, Speaker. I think warra uno ebolela ka speed uskari dissolve uno ba utsitse uskari dissolve. With regard to 54 staff contracted to your department there, the staff of Sakile Ezwen, who are posted at your offices. MEC, please indicate the following. The questions are from 1 to 5. I can't read 1, 2, 3. Waribona. But the first one will go as follows. How far is the process of insourcing these cleaners as promised in June 2018, after they've been asked to submit their CVs and uniform sizes for them to be absorbed with the department? Why are you allowing these cleaners to work within your offices without having assigned any contract of employment? What is the duration of the contract between Sakile Ezwen and your department? Are you aware that there are insourcing discussions between the cleaners and the facilities manager, Mr. Obaking, Women Resource and CFO, that the cleaners will be insourced before the contract between them with the department expires? What are your plans to ensure that the promise and commitment made to the cleaners is kept and they are being insourced as to allay their fears of losing their jobs should your contract with Sakile Ezweni expire? Thank you very much.
Apere peleng ke diore e dissolve le ka re ke tshaba wa pamaka nthangwe sa trimage ba tlo ikhumana re ya ka kwa pele a ke nya go ta ka mo ntune e gole ka no wa pamaka ke ya pele. Is my language allowed? Yeah. Oh yes. This is the most prolific and decorated language in the country. No, I always tell them, you can stop. And my advice to you, when you are watching DSTV, those of you who are privileged, and then you don't have a connection. You seem to lose the signal. So the best thing to do, climb the roof, take the dish, let it point Butokwa, and the signal will come. That's my advice. Madam Speaker, thank you very much, Member Mukwebo, for the questions. As it relates to the first one with regards to insourcing, well, I must say the following, that I've had a conversation with unions and also have a subsequent conversation with the cleaners, not necessarily under this contract. And really the intention is to make sure that the commitments made by the ANC government to insource gets to be realized, obviously over a passage of time. So we'll explain what those stages are. But as it relates to the first question with regards to the process, the questions as asked on how far is the process of insourcing, the Department's Human Resource Management Unit is currently engaging the DPSA for the cleaning staff post to be included in the departmental structure. The CFO has allocated funds for the creation of these posts. These funds will come from goods and services budget through austerity and cost containment measures. So the point we're making is that we're making serious strides, we are advancing this, so I'm more than confident that in the near future will come with a more positive response. So positive in this instance, meaning that the insourcing process has been completed. And it's something that started by my predecessor in this position. And then the question is, why am I allowing cleaners to work in the offices without a signed contract? Let me be clear that the cleaning staff are currently employed by the service provider, and as such have signed contracts with their employer, Sakile Ezweni. Once all the relevant procedures in accordance with the Public Service Act has been complied with, the employees will be migrated to the department's structure. So imagine, and I'm saying migrated, so in their current form, they simply come through into the structure of the departments once those approvals have been received from the DPSA. So there's no process of competitive application, if you like, so it's not a normal process, it's simply a migration process. What is the duration of the contract between Sakile Ezweni and the department? The duration of the contract between the cleaning service provider and department was for 1 year, and it expires at the end of February 2019, after which time the department called for quotation for cleaning services. And with regards to someone who's at the Human Resource Department and also the CFO, conversations that they've been having with the cleaners with regards to insourcing, the answer is that the department has been participating in sessions convened by the Office of the Premier in relation to insourcing and gave regular feedback to affected parties. This included the discussions and processes to secure funds and compliance with the DPSA regulations as part of the onboarding process. And then what are the plans going forward with regards to the commitment that the department has made, and I guess by extension the governing party has made? The point we are making is that we are in conversation. We will satisfy the administrative process. We are confident that the budget is in a position, at least for now, to absorb the cleaning services. And I guess the next leg of the conversation will relate to the security contracts. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Do you have a supplementary question, Honorable Mukwebo?
Yeah, thanks, Speaker. I think, MEC, you didn't meet these unions go Nando's, Leisure Full Chicken. But I think what I want to say, Speaker, is that the MEC can elaborate to this House to say where did he meet the unions and when, at what time, because you must know this is the procedure. When you have got a meeting, you must have minutes. Then you can confirm to this House that Honorable Mukwebo can give you the minutes. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mukwebo, but can I read this rule that you want to use now? It says, at the discretion of the presiding officer. That's a discretion. Any member may ask an additional question, supplementary question, not questions, or remark and not both. Akira, it's a short or question, so it shouldn't be more than that.
Thanks, Speaker. I wanted to make a remark.
Okay.
And I want to appreciate the answer from the MEC. The Speaker made reference of the room. The unfortunate part is that MEC were not thoroughly briefed.
You speak to the House, not to the person?
Yes, the
please.
MEC is not thoroughly briefed on this matter. Like, for instance, this has been happening for some time. We should have actually completed this process by last year. And for some reasons, apparently now, there is a new company, Tiny Cleaning Services, that has been contracted to continue with this. The unfortunate part is that when CVs were collected and provisions were made, there were timelines and there were agreed times that by this time they will resume and they will be insourced. Unfortunately, that did not happen. It was not because of money. It was not because of anything. I think it was just Bangle administration. But let's commend you, and I thought you will take ownership to say you are going to insource them without necessarily taking it outside the department and talk about the province, because that initiative is good and we welcome it. Please,
Short
please just
remark.
get the proper information and
Short remark.
expedite this process. Thank you.
Honorable Ghana.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Just a quick one to the MEC.
Question, remark?
Question.
MEC, are you taking a question? Yes. Okay.
But it's a
Continue.
supplementary question, it's not a speech.
Te pendula. Bua.
No. MEC, I wanted to check if the department itself has done an impact assessment on what this will do to the small businesses that are operating in that space. Because if on one side we are talking about making Gauteng a home for small businesses, and most of these companies that are involved in the cleaning services are also small companies, what impact will this move have on the small businesses that in your next budget speech you'll be talking about promoting in Gauteng? Thanks very much.
Honorable MEC.
Yeah, I always make the point that speaking is not an achievement. So what do I mean? You are under no obligation to speak, because I think part of the problem is that if you're not listening carefully, you are likely going to suffer immense